etc. Right here on SEMO ESPN.
All right, welcome in our first edition of the Red Hawks Coaches Show with head coach Tom Matukewicz, 2015, year 2 in the Coach Tuke era, and a brand new locale. We are at Wings, etc. in Cape. We are right in front of West Park Mall. If you know where Steak and Shake is, the Wings, etc. parking lot meets up with the Steak and Shake parking lot. So that's where we are. We are here every Monday during football season, and you can join us here. They've got some tremendous specials, so keep this in mind. They're award-winning jumbo wings, popular for both dine-in and carry-out, and they are a lot more than wings at Wings, etc. They have a full menu featuring freshly made burgers. They have wraps, subs, quesadillas, entree salads, smoked ribs. That's right. You want a rack of ribs? You can get them at Wings, etc. Famous for their appetizer lineup, including their ultimate nachos and the spicy deep-fried pickle spears. Wings, etc. We're here until 1 o'clock, so stop by. Pretty good turnout. Coach Tuke, how are you? How about this turnout for the first show?
Man, this is exciting. Full packed house. Got some wings and football, right? It doesn't get any better than that.
Now, see, I noticed that you did not get here early enough to really get a good lunch in. You'll have to do that after the show. Is that right?
Yeah, this is just kind of the calm before the storm.
Yeah, this is the appetizer, so to speak. Game week, is it a different feeling for you when you wake up on Monday morning and it's officially game week?
Yeah, anytime you transition from fall camp and now we got an opponent that we could talk about instead of ourselves, and there's just an energy, that new energy that kind of comes in the room, the meetings, all the players got a little bit more pep in their step, and this is what we work really hard to do. Only guaranteed 11 of these things, and so when they come around, now people get excited.
Or 12. As you played 12 games last year. What's the difference between year to year, 11 and 12 games? What are you seeing as far as the schedule in college football?
Well, it's just a calendar issue. So some games you're able to have 12 and then some only 11. We don't get to play Tennessee State this year because of that. And so I just get my schedule every year and look at it and go to work.
That's kind of an odd thing for a conference that they rotate one team out. They kind of get special rules because they play in these big money-making type of specialty games and these classic games. So it's kind of an odd quirk in the schedule. Every team, every year, someone will rotate off of Tennessee State's schedule, and it just happens to be this is your year. Now, you're heading to the University of Missouri. Now, was this game set when you got here, or did Mark Allnut make that after he hired you?
It was already set.
And the University of Missouri, the one thing that's kind of neat is last year on a road trip, you took the entire team to work out at Faurot Field. So a lot of these guys, it's not going to be their first time on this playing surface.
No, that's exactly right. And even when we did the walkthrough last year, we told them we're going to be right back here a year from then. And, that's what's happening. One thing we're going to do Fridays, we're going to have a walkthrough on Faurot Field again, so we could just make sure that there's a lot of new faces in the locker room. I want to make sure that they're comfortable with where we're playing and where they're dressing and the restrooms and all those type of things.
We are at Wings, etc., our new home for the Red Hawks Coaches Show with Coach Tuke. We are here Mondays from noon until 1 o'clock. Now, if you have not downloaded our free SEMO ESPN app for your smartphone, make sure you do it. You can listen to the Coaches Show. You can watch the Coaches Show on your phone, and you can listen to every Red Hawk football game. So if you've got a smartphone, it's a free download. Head to your app store, type in SEMO ESPN to the search box, and you can listen live all the time. We've got extras. You can get on our promotions, all special events, the radar for all of the weather forecasts. We've got you covered. It's a free download, the SEMO ESPN app, and you can hear every second of Red Hawks football this year if you can't make it to a radio or if you can't be online at SEMOESPN.com. Always a concern, especially with what we saw last year with your football team, injuries. It was a freakish scenario. How many guys that you had not only injured for long stretches, but season-ending injuries. Some guys came back like Paul Mcroberts. How healthy are you heading into the Missouri game?
Well, it was a major goal of ours since January to work on that. And so mean, we did studies and we've talked to NFL people, and we really, really worked hard on that. And, this time last year we had 6 season-ending injuries, and right now we don't have any. And so a lot of that has to do with getting our body physically in shape. We're stronger, we're more athletic, learning how to practice, the equipment, the hydration, all the things that it takes to stay healthy. We've been able to do that. And that was the number one goal coming out of camp is we stay healthy. And we've been able to do that.
And talking to other trainers in major college football, medical personnel, and people in the NFL, what was the biggest common thread or two that you found that you said, aha, maybe we're going to go in a different direction in this particular area?
Well, it really isn't just one or two. It's kind of a combination. One thing we found out is our shoes. We had a lot of foot injuries last year, and our shoes were, a lot of times the shoemakers make these shoes because they look nice and they look fancy. But even like a Paul Mcroberts, he's a 200-pound man. He doesn't need little bitty fast shoes. He needs a lot of support there. And so we've got inserts that we've put into the shoes to make sure that our kids' feet are stable. And so that's just an example. And there's lots. We got every one of our offensive, defensive lineman knee braces that they wear in practice. And we had one knee brace all torn in half almost, and he walked off the field and was fine. And so those are the type of things that we made an investment into the program just so we can make sure we keep our kids healthy.
I guess you could compare it to a car accident where the guy had a seatbelt on, walked away.
Yeah.
He's not wearing that knee brace. That's probably it.
That's exactly right. And that's why I try and get our kids. Everybody talks about, we were lucky and we got injured. And I want to gnaw their face off when they say that because you know how I feel about it. But, there are a lot of things that are in our control. And let's go control those factors. And I think right now we're doing that.
Well, as you get ready to start the season, this is year number 2 for you as a head coach. Going into year 2, you've got 1 year under your belt. How different is it for you now? It's your team, mostly your guys. You have set all of the standards for your football program in year 1. Now going into year 2 versus year 1, where it was your first experience as a full-time head coach.
Well, I certainly feel more comfortable with my team, my coaches. There's been a lot of change, though. We've got a new athletic director, have a new president, and so even a lot of our program organizations, we've had to re-go over everything. So, year 1 to year 2 to year 3, I have a 1-year plan, and then after that year, I'll develop another 1-year plan, and we try to execute the plan. So certainly from a comfort standpoint, I feel more comfortable. More importantly, I feel like our roster's better. We don't have the giant holes that we had last year.
What was the biggest thing in your mind that helped you restock your roster with what you feel are quality players and a better roster? What was the thing that maybe helped you on the recruiting trail in that respect?
Just a year-round recruiting. Every newcomer that came into fall camp, they told their story and why they chose SIU or SEMO, and they were talking about the connection with the team, the connection with the players, the connection with the coaches. And one thing that we did when we got here is we talked about recruiting 12 months a year, not just 3 months out of the year. We recruit continuously. We're out on Friday nights. We're always writing prospects, social media. That is, I think, what's been able to maybe pick another tier up of the type of player because that relationship we have with that kid. And so when he's picking schools, he'll end up being loyal to the team or the coaches that are with him the longest.
Now, that's one thing that is a new wrinkle over the last several years, social media. I know you're very active on social media because young people are active on social media. How much has that changed recruiting?
It's completely different, and the fact that you send a kid a letter, he may not open it. And if you walk in any school lunches, they're all just looking at their phone. And so you got to be to where they're looking or wherever they're spending the time. And so we spend a lot of time with graphics and instant messenger and all those type of things just to try and get in front of those recruits.
Redhawks open the season at Faurot Field against the 24th ranked team in FBS, the Missouri Tigers. Now they're ranked differently in 2 polls. Coaches poll, they're 23. Associated Press poll, they are number 24. And they've got some holes. We'll talk more about that as we go along. The FBS taking on FCS. And some people will say, well, that just really doesn't happen very often, that an FBS school or an FCS school is going to go and beat an FBS school. Well, I beg to differ. Over the last 9 years, or the last 6 years, we're just talking about 6 seasons, FCS schools have 52 wins in the last 9 years, and 12 of those are coming over Power 5 conference teams, the likes of Iowa State, Kansas State, Florida, 25th ranked Oregon State, Minnesota, the Golden Gophers. Ole Miss was beaten by Jacksonville State. Virginia Tech in the last 5 years has lost to an FCS school 52 times in 6 years. This happens.
Yeah. I mean, I've been a part of those wins too at the FCS,
SIU in Indiana, right?
Yeah, and those are that's what makes it so exciting. You get to play up, and everybody's playing for respect, and you're playing, for everybody that's told they weren't quite good enough, and so maybe you reach that next level of excitement, and you get it on, and you come away with something they could talk about for a lifetime.
Do you know Gary Pinkel, because you both coached at Toledo? I mean, he was there for quite a while as the head coach. Your paths didn't cross at Toledo. Are you familiar with Gary Pinkel?
No, I mean, certainly we've had conversations and things like that, but we were never worked together. And they are very good to our staff. They have big prospects camps at their university, and they allow us to come and help recruit. And so that's very important to us, and have a lot of respect. I think Gary Pinkel's probably forgot more football than I've learned. I mean, have a lot of respect for just the kind of consistency that program's been able to sustain is extremely uncommon in big boy football.
Well, Gary Pinkel, 15th season now. He has won 13 and 66, back-to-back SEC East titles, 5 seasons of 10 or more wins. That is hard to do. And he has 5 conference division titles, 10 bowl games, 5 bowl game victories. I mean, that's a pretty good resume at the University of Missouri, right?
It really is. And I think he would tell you also that they've been able to have that consistency in their staff. Obviously he isn't doing it alone. And that is something that when I was with Coach Kill, we used to talk a lot about. When you can have that kind of consistency within your staff, that allows you to have that kind of consistency on the field.
Well, they made one major change. They lost their defensive coordinator. Dave Steckel took the job at Missouri State. Big pay cut, but a guy whose dream it was to be a head coach. You know what that's all about.
Absolutely. I felt the same way, I'm sure, as he's felt. You wait a lifetime for that opportunity, and I'm very excited for him to get that dream, and I know what that feels like, and certainly wish him all the luck down there. And now I think when you look at Missouri's defense, I don't know that much will change. The guy they brought in is
Barry Odom.
Yep, Barry's from that tree. He's played at MIZZOU, and so I think they'll probably pick off where they left off, certainly from a schematic standpoint.
Now, I don't know how much of it's coach speak, but I heard Gary Pinkel interviewed on this topic, and he said we're about 75% of what we did last year, and then we've got some new things with Barry Odom.
Yeah, I mean, I think all that stuff is kind of overrated. I've told our team this is about the Red Hawks, and we're going to run these plays because that's what we do, and we're going to see if they can stop them.
All right, we're going to take our first time out here. We are at Wings Etc. It's our brand new location for the Red Hawks Coaching Show with Coach Tuke. Let's talk about this offense that was 3rd best in the Ohio Valley Conference, putting points on the board last year, and that has 2 All-American skill players into Michael Jackson and Paul Mcroberts. We'll talk offense with head coach Tom Matukewicz when we return. Wings Etc., host of the Coaches Show on SEMO ESPN. It's the Red Hawks Coaches Show with head coach Tom Matukewicz. Our first show of 2015. Red Hawks open up at 24th ranked Missouri, and that will be on Saturday. It's going to be a 3 o'clock game. We are at our brand new location, Wings, etc., in Cape Girardeau, right in front of the West Park Mall. The parking lot hooks right in with Steak and Shake's parking lot. So if you know where Steak and Shake is, that's where we are. And, of course, the specials daily. They're going to have 49-cent wings during the Red Hawks MIZZOU game this Saturday. And also they're going to have plenty of beverage specials, drink specials. So come on out to Wins, etc. during the game on Saturday. Again, it's a 3 o'clock kickoff. They've got dining rooms filled with tons of high-def televisions, and they're always tuned into the best sports programming. They have the NFL ticket here at Wings, etc., the laid-back atmosphere, great food, friendly service, and the daily half-pound lunch specials. A half-pound lunch, $6.49. They've got food and drink specials throughout the week, including their 59-cent wings every Monday, and their kids menu, family-friendly video games in the dining room. I see they've got the Golden Tee. If you've ever played Golden Tee, it's addictive. They've got that here. This is the place, Wings, etc., and we're here every Monday from noon until 1 o'clock. Red Hawks have the luxury, Coach Tuke, of having 3 preseason All-Americans on this roster. Obviously, Ryan McCrum, your kicker, and 2 guys not only on the offensive side of the ball, but important offensive positions, skill guys, DeMichael Jackson, Paul Mcroberts. So you've got some weapons coming in before this season even gets going.
Yeah, I think when you look at it from a coach standpoint, obviously you like those, but the best thing about it is they're on a running and a passing, because to be good on offense, you got to be balanced. You know, if you had 2 All-American receivers or 2 All-American running backs, you know, sometimes they can load up and stop those things, but when you have balance on offense, I think that's the most important thing.
Let me ask you if this is balance, because last year your scoring offense, 3rd in the league, you averaged 32 points per game. But when you look at what you're able to do, passing offense, 5th in the league. Rushing offense, 5th in the league. Right there, right in the middle of the 9 teams in the OVC, you are identical in terms of conference rankings. That's pretty balanced. Yeah,
we want to be balanced, and it takes, you know, good players to be able to do that. And so that's why I'm so excited about offense. You know, one guy that doesn't get talked about much is Adrian Davis. You know, he's a preseason All-American as a freshman. And he's a guy that played probably a year before he should have, but this guy is really good also.
28 catches, 307 yards, and 4 touchdowns for Adrian Davis. 6'3". He's got a frame that might look like Paul Mcroberts. I mean, he's got to get a little stronger. The one thing that you would talk about with Adrian Davis last year, prior to him being named a freshman All-American, was physically he's got to get stronger. We would have loved to have redshirted him last year, but because of injuries, you couldn't do it.
Right. And,
but you get the dividends this year by him playing a Division I season.
And he's up to 193. I mean, he couldn't spell 193 a year ago. I mean, he was 160-some pounds, and so that's really going to pay off. You know, at reception point, you know, I know Missouri's going to come up and press and get physical with our receivers, and we got to be able to combat that.
Paul Mcroberts, obviously he's on the National Football League's radar. We say that because you've had double-digit number of NFL teams who have sent NFL scouts to Houck Stadium, and they're looking at one person and one person only, and that's Paul Mcroberts.
Yeah, you know, that I'm very thankful for that, because one thing when an NFL scout comes out to practice, you know you're going to have a good day, because everybody on that field is trying to impress him. So I always knew I was going to have a good practice when I saw one of those guys. But we had at least a dozen out there, and, it's because of the film he put out there last year. And so he's on that Bay's radar, and he follows up with another great season. He's certainly going to be, either a draft pick or, certainly a roster guy.
You know, Willie Ponder was on your coaching staff last year. Great story. Came back to Southeast to finish his degree. I think everybody was so impressed that Willie Ponder was able to get that accomplished. But he was, arguably the greatest wide receiver to ever play here He holds the all-time touchdown receiving mark of 26. 2 years he did it in. I mean, it's amazing. Paul Mcroberts, he could fall down and get 6 touchdowns. He's got 20. He's had 9 in each of his first 2 years. Keep in mind, 9 touchdowns last year. He missed 5 games because of a broken foot. I mean, if he puts together a season that is 100% healthy with what he's done in the past, is he a guy that you think is going to get drafted?
I absolutely do. I think he'll tell you that, we need somebody to throw those passes, and we need somebody blocking for those passes. And so, it's not just about him, and we need, the whole team to come together to play well. And, so there's a lot there in the offense. Everything's back except one major big piece, and that's Kyle Snyder. He had over 3,000 yards. Where are those 3,000 yards going to come from? And so that's what we're, excited about to see how we look this Saturday.
All right, Tay Bender, right in the University of Nebraska's backyard in Lincoln, Nebraska, was not offered a scholarship to be a quarterback. I think they were looking at him more as an athlete. So Bill Snyder at Kansas State said, hey, this guy has what we need to run our offense. Coming out of high school, Tay Bender at 6'4", runs a 10.8 100-yard dash, ran a 4.4 40-yard dash time coming out of high school. That's a big-time athlete right there who signed and took a full scholarship at Kansas State University in the Big 12.
Yeah, I mean, he certainly, when he walks through the room, I mean, he's a beautiful kid. You talk about how fast he is. He also has a 3.7 GPA. I mean, there's a lot to fall in love with, I guess.
Well, I've noticed he's got a brace on his left knee. Is the knee okay? Is that a precautionary thing?
Precautionary. When he played last year on a strained knee for his junior college, finished the season out, and was hobbled a little bit through spring, but he's back to 100%.
I think it's interesting, and we'll see how it plays out for Tay Bender. But Cam Newton, a guy who in many respects might be similar to the game style of a guy like Tay Bender. You're talking about a guy that started at Division I Florida. Things didn't work out there. He went to junior college, made it to the JUCO National Championship game. Now, he won a national championship and then went Division I.
Yeah.
Tay Bender, Division I school. Didn't work out there, so he goes JUCO. He plays in a JUCO National Championship game. They lose it. The only game they lost last year is him as a starting quarterback, and now he's continuing to play Division I football.
I know he looks at Cam a lot, and I never compare kids because that'd be like comparing your own 2 kids. Everybody's different, but his style is similar. And that in our profile, we knew we needed a recruit quarterback that was mobile. Sometimes he's just going to get out of the way, until we build this offensive line. And so that we love his escapability and him being able to make plays with his legs, but he can sling it around pretty good.
When you talk about the competition for quarterback, obviously it's the most important position that there is, quarterback. You don't have a good one, your chances of winning are very, very slim. You've got to replace, statistically, a guy who had one of the greatest seasons in SEMO history, who had all the intangibles, ability to sling it, ability, to get out and make plays with his legs and make plays because he saw things and, just was a smart guy in Kyle Snyder. When the competition was going on, how did that thing go? Was Tay the number one guy from day one? Was it his job to lose? And then all of a sudden, local Dante Vandeven from Jackson High School jumps ahead of a senior who transferred from an FBS program in Central Michigan, and Alex Nisnek. That must have been a heck of a battle.
Yeah, I mean, that's what you should do because competition brings out the best in all of us. He came in January and he started as the number 3 quarterback and worked his way up and finished with the 1 jersey and, really has had it ever since. I think, we felt like he finally took it over at the end of camp. And, the thing I liked about him is he was a consistent individual. His attitude and effort was the same every day. Our players have a lot of respect for him. And then obviously we liked what we saw on film, and it's good to see Dante. We feel like that is definitely our future. He got over 80 votes on our leadership council as a true freshman, and that tells you a lot. And then Alex Nisnek, that there's no one's worked harder than him this offseason to try to prepare for that opportunity. I still think, you never know how this works. he may, he one play away from being in the game, and so he has to prepare for that opportunity. I think he will.
As you said, anybody that's on that depth chart is an ankle turn away from hitting the field right in the middle of the action.
Yeah, everybody talks about when am I going to get my opportunity, and the focus needs to be on preparing for that opportunity because you can't pick them. You don't have a crystal ball, but when they come, you got to be ready, and that's our mindset.
DeMichael Jackson, your All-American running back, 1,700 rushing yards, so he's closing in on 2,000, already top 10 all-time in rushing yards, so he is back. Had a great year, an all-conference year, despite missing time with a broken hand. And then Tremaine Mccullough has come in, and here's a guy that I know you were excited about just because of his home run hitting ability, that extra gear in terms of speed that a lot of guys may not have.
Yeah, it just felt like last year, we really had a lot of drives. We didn't have the explosive plays that you want to have. So we just felt like we needed more of a home run threat guy, and this guy has a gear, and I mean, he can make you miss in a phone booth. But this guy is cat-like quick.
And he's a guy that at 5 feet 10 inches tall, 170 pounds, and played some junior college football last year.
I recruited him out of high school. He's from a program that I know has coached really well when I was at Northern Illinois. I ended up taking another job, and he went to junior college. And so it's amazing how life works. Now we're back together again.
And then Lewis Washington, it seems like he has been in the program for about 7 years because he played a lot as a true freshman. One of his claims to fame, the 99-yard touchdown run he had a few years ago against Tennessee State. But Lewis Washington, that's a nightmare for a defensive back, maybe even for some linebackers. I mean, he is a guy that you really don't want to see with a full head of steam. Is he a matchup problem for teams?
He really is. I mean, he's in the upper 260s and maybe 270 right now. And he's going to be kind of our Coleman of last year. We're going to put him in a lot of different scenarios, and that's what a tight end does is he's a mismatch. He's certainly not like a prototypical tight end, but he's still 270. But he has ball skills like he's 170. And so we plan on putting him in positions to help us win football games.
Well, it's interesting, you look at, the first thing that I think a lot of coaches look at, fans may look at the skill position thing, but I know coaches are looking at what do we got on the lines? Who's coming back on the lines? Well, on your offensive line, you've got 3 guys back who've started a lot of football games for you, but 85 career games played by your 5 first stringers. And of those 85 career games played, 59 career starts. They play a lot of football up there. You got some veterans on the offensive line.
We definitely do. And, it's good to have that interior, both our guards and centers back. And they did a great job last year. It was really one of the strengths of our program last year. We were concerned at tackle, but we had Michael Cook and Alex Snyder come up and just work their way into starting positions. And Coach Weimers does an unbelievable job with our offensive line. He got them ready to play. I feel very confident there. We don't have the depth. That's the one position out of our whole football team that we can't have a tremendous amount of injuries.
You told them, I want no injuries.
Yeah, you get bubble wrap. All right, cardboard, you set in the middle aisle, don't set next, all that.
That's it, the offensive line. So that's good. Doesn't that give you a little more? I know coaches never have peace of mind, but it give you a little more peace of mind. Hey, I got a pretty veteran group up front.
Yeah, I really think, across the board, you just feel pretty good from that standpoint. Obviously, if you have your quarterback back, that's what, at the end of the day, stirs the drink, because that guy touches the ball every single time. And that's why I think our offense be a little work in progress. It won't be because of players. It'll just be getting this offense and all these guys in their role and getting Tay comfortable back there.
Your average 6 feet 2 inches tall, 289 pounds across the offensive line. Pretty nice size, right?
Yep. We feel like that's gotten better, and we have a couple of freshmen in the 2 deep. That are even much bigger. So hopefully that number keeps raising. You'd like to be in the 6'3", 300-pounders, a year from now.
I don't know that Coach Weimers gets enough credit for what that offensive line did last year, blocking for an all-conference running back, a guy who's all-conference after missing 4 games with a broken hand, record-setting quarterback, and you gave up the fewest sacks of any team in the league, and you were one of the best offensive lines in terms of not giving up sacks in the country.
Yeah, that's exactly right. I mean, the job they did was amazing, and very appreciative of that. And it's fun that 3 of those guys are back and get our tackles going, and I think we can hopefully start where we left off.
We highlighted your star player, Paul Mcroberts, what Adrian Davis did last year and has a chance really to move to another level. When we last saw Peter Lloyd, he had taken over as the playmaking wide receiver on your football team, the huge game against UT Martin with the 2 touchdowns. This was a guy who really figured it out at the Division I level, was coming into his own when he suffered just a gruesome broken leg. I know there were questions about, is he ever going to play again? Is he going to walk with a limp? And here he is back and on your depth chart as a starter. Talk about his injury, his rehab, and is he back to where he was last year?
It's just a story for life, man. You look at him and everybody's counting him out, and all he did was went to work. And, and I can't tell you how fortunate we are to have the kind of trainers that we have, because, I mean, they're taking him over to the pool during fall camp, getting extra workouts with him to get him ready. And so, my hat's off to Ben Fox and Amanda over in our training room. I mean, they've done an amazing job. Of course, he's worked really hard. I still think he's not quite what he was a year ago. I think it's just going to take a little more time. But
is it top end speed? Is it quickness? Is it lateral movement, or a combination of a lot of things?
Kind of a combination. You're used to working with that limp, and then now maybe your running style has changed a little bit. And so we're trying to get him back up to speed. But I think he's going to have a tremendous senior year.
It's interesting. There was a baseball player that broke his leg. I don't know that it was as bad, but it was tibia and fibula. And so when he came back, when he jogged, he had the limp. But when he had to take off out of the batter's box and run full speed, you really didn't see the limp.
Yeah.
It gets into the way, and not only psychological, but also, you're walking with a limp, and it becomes part of, just a muscle memory, I guess.
Exactly right. But he's done a great job, and he's also going to be back there in some of the return game. You're going to see him. And
punt returns?
Yep, punt returns and kick returns. And so, it's going to be a joy to see him go out there against Missouri.
We've had him on the show, and he is a positive personality guy, an energy guy. So if there was a guy maybe that had a chance to not, everybody's going to get somewhat depressed when you have to have a big injury. But if there's going to be a guy who's probably going to look on the bright side and, hey, I'm going to beat this thing, it's a guy like Peter Lloyd.
Yeah, I agree with you. He's an emotional guy. When I first got here, I mean, he was out of control. I mean, somebody hold him, a DB hold him, he'd throw down and start fighting him. And so I love that about him. We just had to channel it into a positive way, and he's been able to do that. And not only in life, you just look at his whole life, it's just really taken off.
Boy, there are certain things that you could probably argue are on paper the strength of your football team. Obviously, Paul Mcroberts, with what you did on special teams in the kicking game last year, you could argue that's the strength of this team. But I think you could also argue that the defensive line could be a strength of this team. You're talking about 73 career games played by 3 guys. It's not a 4-man front. Yeah. 73 games by 3 guys, 39 starts. And then the second stringer, 69 games played and 30 starts. You've got a lot of experience through the 2 deep on your D-line.
Yeah, that is the heart and soul of our team. I really believe that, the offensive, defensive line. Coach Kuhn is our D-line coach, and he's done a great job. And I have to come up with these depth charts, but we don't have 1s and 2s. They're all 1s. They rotate themselves, and as soon as they get a little tired, a new set's coming in, and that's how we got to be able to do it. And hopefully we have the depth that when we get into 3rd and long, we got a fresh set of bodies out there rushing Matty Mock.
Here's the thing. You run a 4-linebacker scheme. Last year, you had so many injuries at that position, you were having to put safeties at linebacker. How deep are you this year?
We're pretty deep. I mean, we feel like we have probably at least 2 at every position, and some positions 3. we're going to travel 12 linebackers. And so, you certainly feel good about having some depth in there. And, it's going to be a work in progress a little bit, but I feel really good about it.
Last year, and certainly the injuries were a big part of it, you were 7th out of 9 in sacks. Okay, I know you would have liked to have been better defensively on third down. You were the best team in the league offensively on third down. A lot of that is being able to put pressure on the quarterback.
Well, it's everything.
Do you feel like you've got maybe some guys that you're going to be able to get a little more pressure on the quarterback
Absolutely.
this year?
I mean, if we can get them in third and long, I'll be over there sipping on cocoa. I mean, it don't get any better than that. I mean,
you're a cocoa sipper.
Yeah, with some marshmallows in there. You know what I'm saying? But we got to get them to third and long. But we have a really talented group, and a guy that Aaron Adeoye is a guy that you may even see out there on third and long rushing the passer, and we have depth there, and we have the talent.
Well, we know all about Aaron Adeoye playing basketball for the Redhawks last year. You can see the size and athleticism. How much football is in his background?
Well, he played all through high school and was an all-conference type player, and was certainly getting recruited on the football side of things. Had a BCS or 1A offer in basketball, decided to do that. But I know his coach well, his high school coach, and he's definitely a guy that is going to affect the game. I know he's starting on kickoff return, and he'll be in the game on defense on some nickel third down type situations.
Well, he was the leading tackler in the Ohio Valley Conference when he went down with a broken leg. Roper Garrett is back in 2 seasons, and one of them abbreviated last year. I think it was the final 3 games he missed. It was Eastern Kentucky. 96 tackles, 161 tackles for him already. He's right in the middle. And there's a guy that is probably going to be among the league leaders in the OVC in tackles again. Is that the heartbeat of your defense, Roper Garrett?
I think it's every defense. I have our middle linebacker back. He's a very good player. I think he'll tell you that he's been able to make a lot of those plays because of the D-line that we did have until we started getting injured. And a guy that doesn't get talked a lot about was a guy named Chad Meredith. But if you look, he got hurt in the Southeast Louisiana game last year. But if you look at his play, I mean, he really dominated a lot of those games. And I'm really looking forward to what he brings to the table this year.
Yeah, Chad Meredith missing 8 games last year with a shoulder. The good news for Chad, he was able to get a red shirt.
Yeah, exactly right. And so we're able to get that year back. And I look for a breakout year. I mean, you look at him physically and you look at his numbers on paper, he's one of the top 2 or 3 statistics on our team as far as just raw talent.
So you've got 2 studs in Chad Meredith and Roper Garrett. Then Terrence Hill, who saw plenty of time last year.
Absolutely.
and then Lawrence Hills. Tell us about Hill and Hills.
Well, Lawrence it's an interesting story. I called him in January, and he's got 1 year left, and I was like, Lawrence, it hasn't worked. You need to decide. What are you going to do to try and get on the field this year? We talked. We had him at an inside D lineman, decided to move him outside. He lost 20 pounds, and I mean, he absolutely worked himself into a starting position. I'm so proud of just, it's pretty easy for a senior to not play much, blame the new coaching staff, make all kinds of excuses. But really what he did is he went to work and he earned a starting position, and so proud of him.
Well, here's a guy that just shows you. He played in 25 games. He'd only started once.
Yeah.
So that's kind of what you're talking about. There's a guy that in high school in the state of Florida had 13 sacks as a senior. That was 6th most in the state of Florida in his classification. So there was a guy in high school that could put pressure on the opposing quarterback.
Yeah, and he's done a great job. I mean, he's going to start. He's got some nickel reps, and he's really good against the run game. And so, I think he's going to have a year where people look back and are just really impressed.
Boy, and then, in that secondary now, you lost some guys at corner, but Eric Moore is back. He's one of the team captains, started 11 games for you last year. A couple of years ago, had the big 72-yard pick return against Jacksonville State for an interception. But every time I hear you talk about Eric Moore, I hear you talk about how intelligent a football player this guy is.
He really is. He's a guy that I've already offered a job to. I mean, he is a coach in waiting now.
As a coach, is it easy to spot those guys who you can tell are going to be coaches?
Yep, you could tell. And one thing they got to have is personality, and he has that. He's got a tremendous personality, and he feel very comfortable with him and David in the back end.
David Coley, 36 games played in his career.
And so we're going to get lined up back there. I think at corner, we're talented, but we haven't played a lot. And so that's the one position you don't really know. And I think it's going to take them a little bit to get in the swing of things. And it takes time to learn how to play that position.
One of them, Ryan Moore, came from Missouri Western. He didn't play at Missouri Western, so he comes in as a junior. He's out of Lutheran North High School in St. Louis. And then Jamarl Holloway, one of a couple of cornerbacks you got out of Mississippi, out of Pearl River Community College.
Yeah, we wanted to try and put some depth in there to compete for positions. And we've had J.J. Fly, who would obviously be in that, but he's out with his hand injury.
How long is he going to be gone?
We'll find out more information today. He's actually in St. Louis at his doctor's appointment. I think he'll get his cast off today and the pins out, and then they'll test his nerve damage in his fingers and just kind of go from there. And then Michael Ford, he's a guy that was a receiver, played really well on special teams, and we moved over, and he's done a fabulous job.
So that's the defensive backfield. And then, what you did at special teams last year was really amazing, and it was all centered around Ryan McCrum with what he was able to do. Led the league in field goals, led the league in PAT kicking, 44 for 45, named an All-American. More than just Ryan McCrum, though, you were number one in the league in kickoff coverage.
Yeah, well, first of all, I think it starts with Matt Martin. He's our special teams coordinator and running back coach, and he does an unbelievable job. You can't be that good without good specialists, but there's 10 others or 9 others on the field. And so as a program, they know how I feel about special teams. When we go and eat the pregame meal, everybody's wanting to eat first, right? The punt team eats first. If you're a starter on punt, you eat first in our program. And so that kind of tells you the emphasis that we put on it. One thing that really helped Ryan McCrum was a consistent hold. Tyler Manny is our holder, and no one really talks about him. But he had as much to do with Ryan's success as anybody.
50-yard field goals, 4 of them from over 50 yards. I mean, he's got I think 3 longer field goals than Mizzou's. Mizzou's kickers closing in on the all-time scoring record, and Ryan McCrum has way longer field goals than Baggett at the University of Missouri. I mean, this is a premier kicker. There's a reason he's an All-American.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the guy has all the tools, and he just needs to keep perfecting his craft, and the ceiling's really high for that kid.
What I think is amazing, when you came to SEMO, his first year at Southeast, he was 2 for 6 in field goals and missed 3 of his 11 PAT. You can make an argument that that's not even good enough for Division II.
Yeah.
And then he's one of the best kickers in the country. How does that happen?
I don't know. When I first got here and I turned on that film, I was vomiting in our trash can up in the office because the special teams was disgusting. But it just goes to show you that one year has no bearing on the next year, and you just got to go to work, and good things happen to those who work.
It's always a factor in a football game, mistakes. Penalties are killers oftentimes. You were the second least penalized team in the entire league. So penalties were not a big issue for you. You guys played a lot of good disciplined football last year.
We ended up playing good football. I think at the beginning of the season, that was our Achilles heel. Is we had some penalties, but more importantly, we didn't value the football like we should. Lots of turnovers and those type of things. And to me, that's a disciplined football program that takes care of the football. And you're talking to the head coach of the turnover margin. So if we don't have a good turnover margin, you're talking to the dude that's in charge of
that. Was the biggest area of the entire team. You look at every stat for your football team last year, The one where you really struggled was forcing turnover, the turnover margin, that was it. And had you forced several more turnovers, it certainly wouldn't have looked as bad as you probably thought it was.
Yeah, I mean, it's both sides. I mean, it's offense and defense. So that's why every time I see that stat, I want to punch this window out, because I know you have no chance if you don't value the football. But we've done some things that, we have really worked on it. We bought this football on a pole that is on a spring, and it goes with us. It'll be in the MIZZOU sideline with us. It'll be in our locker room, and a big sign that says the ball is everything. And we put a lot of work into that. When I watch the film, first thing I look for is any ball security issues, and we show it to the team and we talk about it. And so if you emphasize, I think you're going to get better, and that's exactly what we did.
Well, how about the Red Hawks' opponent, the Missouri Tigers? What are they going to look like on Saturday? Who do they have coming back, or who do they not have coming back? We'll talk the scouting report over with the Missouri Tigers with head coach Tom Matukewicz. When we come back, it is our inaugural Red Hawks Coaches Show at our brand new location, Wings, etc. in Cape. We'll take a timeout and talk MIZZOU Tigers when we come back. This is SEMO ESPN. Our brand new location, Wings, etc. in Cape Girardeau. We're right in front of West Park Mall in Cape. Not only right in front of West Park Mall, but the parking lot for Wings, etc. extends right to the parking lot of Steak and Shake. So if you know where Steak and Shake is, that is where we are here at Wings, etc. And don't forget, at Wings, they are open 7 days a week. They're open late on the weekends. And when the games go late, Wings will still be here, locally owned and operated, and they are proud to support the local athletes, their families, the schools, and all of the teams. And again, don't forget, a full menu, much more than just wings, fresh-made burgers, wraps, subs, quesadillas, entree salads, smoked ribs, and more. Don't forget about their appetizer lineup, including their ultimate nachos and their spicy deep-fried pickle spears, HD TVs with the games on right here, Wings, etc. in Cape, the home of the Coaches Show with Coach Tukes. So you've got a Missouri football team that is coming off its second straight SEC East Division Championship, 11-3. They are a team that lost a lot, Coach Tukes, at the wide receiver position. Of their three starting wide receivers on the depth chart, those three have combined for 7 Division I receptions. So I think if there's one question mark, at least in Missouri's mind coming out, they really don't have a lot of proven guys who've done it as a Division I player at the wide receiver spot.
Yeah, I think they've been hearing about they couldn't pass the ball last year. I mean, they ran the ball all over the place, but they struggled throwing it a little bit. versus SEC teams. And, I think that's what the big question mark this year is, whether or not, they've got that answered.
And, you look at who they've got coming back at quarterback, Matty Mock, now in his junior season. And of all of the teams in the SEC, there are 8 SEC teams that return their top quarterback and running back. 8. None of them have more combined yards than Mock and Russell Hansborough did last year. 4,100 yards, 37 touchdowns. Those are 2 really good skill players. Russell Hansborough is closing in on 2,000 career yards rushing.
Yeah, I think it starts there. That guy is just a tremendous player, and anytime you can have that kind of running back on your roster, that certainly helps. And then Matty Mock, the most dangerous thing about him is when it's not there, because he is athletic and he will run around and he makes a lot of big plays off the scrambles. And, but he also turned the ball over some doing that too. So I know they probably like to see him, cut down on those turnovers. And so that's hard. It's pretty hard to keep a quarterback that athletic in the pocket.
When you look at what they've got on the defensive side of the football, you're going to see a 4-man front. They're going to run a 4-3 defense.
They got a new defensive coordinator. Came from Memphis. They were extensively a 3-4.
Do you watch Memphis film and kind of see what he did at all?
No, it's with an established program like that, they've recruited to the 4-3, and so they're going to run what they've done. And so we're going to watch that film and what they did last year. And it is different though, because we're a 3-man front, and so our offense has been blocking odd. Now they're going to have to block an even man front, and so we've had to get our scout team ready to go this week.
They've got a very good kicker. Yeah. Closing in on the all-time scoring record, but a freshman punter. That should be interesting.
Yeah, that is. I know they brought a junior college punter in, and so they obviously were concerned about it and, just settled on that guy. Last year they did a little bit of rugby and just traditional, and so we're not sure what we'll see there.
And, you're going to see the spread offense and what we've seen from Missouri, even in short yardage situations. More often than not, they're going to line up, the quarterback in shotgun.
Yeah, they have a philosophy and a spread philosophy, and that's what they're going to do no matter what, and they're really good at it.
And from what I understand, they have put a little bit more read option into their offense. How much read option have you seen with them on film?
It's certainly in there. They did it a handful last year, and they may try and do that a little more. If they feel good about their second quarterback, they may do it a lot. Obviously, if you're running your quarterback around there and there ain't anybody behind him, you got to be careful there. I think we'll be ready for both. Our offense is similar to that, so our defense is ready.
All right. Again, over the last 6 years, 52 times FCS schools have beaten FBS schools, 52 times in the last 6 years, and 9 of those times coming against teams from the Power 5 conferences, including the SEC. What are the keys for your football team to go up there and make some noise on Saturday?
Well, I think the main focus we have is make sure we focus on us. I'm going to try and make sure I do a good job with the team, is that we enjoy this moment. You don't want to be sitting there thinking about all this and straight. Really, this is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity for these kids. And so we're going to try and enjoy that. And then we're really going to try to win the turnover margin. That's something Missouri as a standard. They were in the top 20 last year. Yeah. And if we can win the turnover margin this year or this game.
They never lose fumbles. It's unbelievable.
They lost 3.
Yeah.
That's none compared to what we did. And so can we, let's see where we've come and how we've taken care of the football compared to a team that really values it and has done a great job. And then, we're going to do our best and forget the rest.
I can tell you one thing.
That's all you can do.
We saw it at Kansas last year. You were in the game in the fourth quarter, and Kansas got tight.
Yeah.
Kansas got tight, and you just ran out of time in that game. I would have loved to have seen, Kyle Snyder and Paul Mcroberts if you had the football one more time. If you're in the game in the fourth quarter, I got to believe you're going to be feeling good, and Mizzou's going to be feeling a little pressure.
Yeah, I think that's the goal. Every team that I've been able to play up and win, that's what it was. It was a fourth quarter game, and if you get in a fourth quarter game, they start to tighten up, and all the confidence and the momentum swings to our sideline. And but it's a tall task. I mean, this is a really good football team. They've never ever lost to an FCS team in the history of playing football in Missouri. So we're trying to do something that's never been done before. So what an opportunity!
And on top of all that, a nice fat check for $385,000. That's not a bad day at the office.
No. I asked them if I could just go ahead and deposit that in the bank account and go to work. But, that's a part of things at our level. We got to be able to pay those bills, and we're thankful for that opportunity.
All right. I know your wife just got the order in, so your wings, etc. lunch is going to be here momentarily. We will see you in Columbia on Saturday afternoon. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
That's Coach Tom Matukewicz. That's going to do it for our first edition of the Red Hawks Coaches Show with Coach Tuke from our brand new location, Wins, etc. Stay tuned. Rosillo and Cannell coming up next on SEMO ESPN Radio. From Wings, we say so long, everybody.